live. News First, face to face with Jamal Ratnayakar.
A very good evening and welcome to yet another edition of Face to Face, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo for the Newsfirst team. I am Jamal Ratnayakar. It's already a new year, yet we are facing unprecedented times. If someone who was unaware of the strife that Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans and the Sri Lankan economy underwent over the past few years, they might even start to think that Sri Lanka is a developed nation because we are already planning to send our naval vessels to support the US to fight Houthi rebels in the Red Sea. And I'm sure my guest tonight will be very intrigued to talk about this topic and much more. With me tonight I have Arun Hemachandra, National Executive Committee member of the National People's Power. Thank you very much for joining me, Arun, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening to you, and first of all I express my sincere thanks for you all for inviting me to this beautiful show. So we can start.
Right, great. So as my opening remarks expressed, Arun, we are living in a time where the Sri Lankan president has announced that the Sri Lanka Navy will be assisting in the US's efforts to combat Houthi rebels in Yemen in the Red Sea, where Houthi rebels have attacked several cargo vessels that are linked to Israel, because we know that there is a war going on between Israel and Palestine at present. How do you view this personally, and how does the NPP view this? Because Sri Lanka is a nation that championed the non-aligned movement, but with all of the decisions and measures that are being taken now, it seems that Sri Lanka is moving away from that non-aligned position, don't you think?
Yeah, well, this problem could be addressed in two different ways. One thing, we can take it on the military aspect and also in the political aspect.
Yes.
So when it comes to military aspect, the Sri Lankan Navy has a goodwill, and it has a good name. Globally it has recorded a good name actually.
Yes.
So I mean, they are capable enough to handle that kind of situation. But on the other hand, we have to think whether is that the priority of this time. And also historically, as you said, we have a strand about this Israel-Palestine issue, and I think it's more important for us to address that and stick to our basics, and we have to find a vital solution for the ongoing ongoing Israel-Palestine issue. So I think it's better if we focus more on that. But on the other hand, of course, Sri Lankan Navy is capable enough for that. And any kind of whatever the threat or whatever, then they can handle it. But yet, is it the need of the hour? And also, I mean, are we going to take a side, and are we going to give up our policies or anything like that? Or I mean, on the other hand, we have to think like this. Now, are we going to be in search of dollars? Are we going to fall into unnecessary troubles also? So I mean, it's a broad topic. So I think it cannot be addressed in a short event like this. Right. So we had to discuss about that, and on the military aspect, yes, we are capable. We have done a lot of things. So that is on one side. But as I told you, there are geopolitics involved. And there are so many things that we have to discuss about. So it is not something which we can just in one word we cannot answer that.
Right. So if I was to ask you in a very broad sense, coming back to the local scene, what is the need of the hour?
Well, actually what we have to think is now as a country we have suffered enough. And in 2019 people gave a mandate, and that mandate, like if you look at that, people gave, people voted for that government in order to get some thing in return. That is corruption free government, and then on the other hand about the environmental problem, and the other hand, like they wanted some kind of a pure political environment, and about they were against selling all these assets and everything,
which is why they appointed someone who wasn't from a political background.
And also like even though that scenario had this anti-Rajapaksa feeling, people had some kind of faith in Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and that's the reason they appointed him. And even I myself personally experienced several encounters with the people, because they said, okay, this time we are going to give him a chance and see. But what has happened? I would not say everybody, those who voted for Gotabaya Rajapaksa, are not racist. There were racist, there were racist agenda behind that, and that was part of the campaign. But if you take the whole campaign as a whole, I mean in overall, that entire campaign has been betrayed, the entire mandate has been kicked off, and now the country is in a severe turbulent situation, wherein a person whom they were campaigning totally against have been appointed by them in order for them to protect themselves, for them to be on the seats, for them to reshuffle everything, and for them to reorganize themselves, and for them to get back to the scene. So and this particular man also was craving for power. He was unable to achieve anything through the elections. He was labeled as a loser. But and at the end he was unable to even win a seat in Colombo district, which was where he was scoring to the top. But then ultimately they had a deal, and they come to a conclusion that they will be appointing him as the president. But let me. But what I would like to tell here is now the people's mandate is expired. Now there is a need for a new election. We have to change everything, and a new mandate should be appointed by the people.
But despite all of the taxes, despite all of the increase in utilities and so on, because you made a mention of that particular person who we all know is, you're talking about the president being a loser, I wouldn't go so far as to say that he is a loser. What if I am to counter your point by saying, when he took up office, there were endless fuel queues in Sri Lanka, there was a shortage of commodities, essential items, people were dying in fuel queues, but 7-8 months down the line, Sri Lanka is following an extended fund facility of the IMF. Sri Lanka seems to be getting its revenue generation right. Sri Lanka has essential supplies, it has electricity, although we are paying through the roof to obtain that electricity. There is cautious optimism among the people. What would you say if I was to counter your point in that way?
Well, historically speaking, we are having a borrowing economy, and just because we had a crisis, in order to overcome that, a person borrowing more and more money and restructuring everything and selling the most vital assets and generating more money in order to just fulfill those shortcomings is not accepted. If a country is following that kind of a setup, I would say that country will never develop. Now, if you see, I made a graph. Now I have a statistic starting from 2000 to 2024. So here, if you see, now when it comes to 2000, the interest that we were paying was 71.2 billion rupees. So that increased to 120 in 2005, 352.19 in 2010. So gradually that increased, and in 2024 we are paying an interest of 2,651 billion rupees, which is a 3,716% increase from 2000.
So that's
so within this within this period of time, 24 years, right, from 2000 to 2024, we are paying 3,716% more only for interest. So now once again let me put that question to you. Is that an achievement? I am blaming all these rulers, those who rule this country.
From 2000 onwards?
Even before
even
that.
Before.
So the statistics that I have is from 2000.
From 2000.
So even before that, what I'm asking is, as a country, can we move on like this? Now, there's a very famous term that we use in political arena, that in 1948, when we were given independence, Sri Lanka was the second largest economy in Asia, which was just few points below Japan. Now we have to see how Japan developed even after the Second World War. But I mean, we had such a strong economy at that time. So, but where is that economy? I mean, actually, to be honest, what we have to see is like, as a country, aren't we anticipating some kind of a development, sustainable development? Utilizing all the resources that we have. I mean, don't we need such a country?
So where did we go wrong, Arun? Was it Madam Sirimawo's closed economy? Was it the 1978
like
constitution? Where did Sri Lanka get it wrong?
No, actually, like, to be frank enough, now Sri Lanka had, even since before, like let's say in 1948 we had independence.
Right.
In 1953, Sri Lanka had one of the largest economic crises in the history.
Right.
1953 Hartal. So after that, the Aragale was some kind of similar 1953 Hartal.
Back in the day, yes.
So after 70 years, or 69, 70 years. So even after a very short time, we started to face these crises.
Right.
And even if you see the government that was formed in 1947, the UNP government, that was not a majority government.
Right. Yes.
So since before we are having this political crisis, which was aggravating little by little by little by little, but during wartime, people were talking about something else. People were talking about the war, people were talking about the ethnic conflict, people were talking about this political solution. So there were many other topics to discuss. But if you see, the core of all these issues are the economic crisis. So the rulers of this country have failed throughout the history to address this most vital problem, and wherein we believe, as a country which is nourished with so much of resources, especially the human resource, especially the natural resource, we have not yet done any proper surveys on whatever the resources that we have. We are just blankly we are saying, I remember one prominent businessman who is trying to be a presidential candidate. He openly, blindly said, we don't have any resources. I mean, come on, we have so much of resources. So have we done a proper survey? What are the plans that we have to develop these countries? Rather than blindly selling all these things, what are the plans that we have? I mean, now what these people are doing is, now in Trinco, since I am from Trincomalee,
right.
Recently also there was an allegation against the former health minister, Kelly Rambukala, who is into hot water now. He was trying to sell or get involved in some kind of a fishy deal when it comes to this mineral sands.
I see.
So I got some documents, I'm just checking, so I can't reveal anything as of now. But still we are in the process of uncovering and checking everything. So very soon I think we will be able to reveal certain things. But what I'm trying to say is, this is one example. There are ample of resources, and especially now what I would like to ask is, now I think almost both of us are the same age group people here. Now if you talk to any of your classmates or any of your friends, what are their opinions? Are they trying to leave this country, or are they trying to stay in this country?
Most of them have already left the country.
Most of my friends, like those who could do something, those who have some educational background, those who have some financial capacity, they have left this country.
Yes. And in this day we see so many young minds leaving this country,
and I would say
at a very alarming rate.
And no one is interested to stay in this country. Now okay, let me take myself as an example. Now I have this political motive. I believe that this country should be changed. I believe this country should be brought in to a certain standard in this world. So just because of that I am staying. If not, with the opportunities that we have, we could have left this country so long ago.
So now for 15 minutes you and I have been discussing how badly Sri Lanka has been performing, and the strife that people have gone through, the brain drain and so on. Tell me the NPP's plan to instill confidence in young minds like myself, in young minds like my friends who have gone abroad, to bring them back to this country, to make Sri Lanka attractive once more under an NPP government.
Yes, good question. Now it's like this. Now we would happily say that this young crowd, and especially like those days the middle class was not involved in any protest or anything, but during last several months or even more than a year, more than 2 years, this young crowd and the middle class is into some struggle, and they want a system change.
Yes.
This is the turning point here. The earlier trade unions were struggling, they were fighting.
Yes.
They were having protests, they
So
were having
very
strikes. Isolated
Mm.
incidents, right? But now at this moment, if you see, as a country, we all have come to a point, at least the absolute majority of this population have come to a point that corruption, irregularities, and this political culture
impunity,
should be, and all these things should be wiped off, and there should be a transparent setup in this country.
right?
So people are looking forward to a system change. So at this moment, only NPP can provide whatever the system change that the people are anticipating.
Right.
No, it's like this. Now, can you build a house without a proper foundation? No matter whatever the ingredients that you have, I mean, whatever the inputs that you have, you cannot. We cannot bake a nice cake without proper ingredients.
Right.
So here we have to provide all those things.
Right.
So to build a proper country, we have to have a good system.
The base has to be solid.
The base has to be solid. The base has to be transparent.
Right.
The base has to be really clean. Only then proper investors will come. Now throughout the history, what we are seeing is the people, those who are coming as investors to this country, if you take their records and see, in some countries they may have been blacklisted.
Right.
Now one investor came in and he's trying to buy certain state-owned enterprises also. I was checking through his profile. In UK or in France, I mean in one of the European countries, he was blacklisted.
But who's this investor? Do you?
Yeah, one person. So I don't want to reveal the name. We will. I mean, when the right time comes, we will talk about that.
Okay.
So like that, people are being blacklisted in various other countries, but they are coming to this country and trying to do something. So now at this moment, what we have to see is now as a country how we are trying to revive. Now when we were small, what was taught to us is, the war is the main reason for all these problems, and once the war is over, everything will be changed. But now the war is over, and it's almost 14 years
And
now.
yet there are ethnic conflicts that linger in the
It's
country.
not
as
only
well.
the ethnic conflict. Now they are aggravating the ethnic conflict. That's a different story, and they are very famous for that.
Yes.
But on the other hand, if you see, what about the developments that they were promising? Where is that promised country? And if the youth population is leaving this country, who is going to run this country in future? I mean, we have been to several countries. What I see in this country at the moment is, people are in a very big fed up situation. They are depressed and the crime rates are going up. And if the system is not going to change, this country will be worse than this, not my words.
So let's talk about conflicts, since you mentioned it. The NPP is, I believe, a branch, correct me if I'm wrong, a branch of the JVP. And what a lot of your opponents, political opponents, say is that the JVP is responsible for the loss of millions, of hundreds of lives in days gone by. And that is something that they stress to the people, and a lot of people are reluctant to vote for the NPP that the JVP is a part of as a result of this matter. So what do you have to say to the voters who are on the edge, to the people who are on the edge, who are reluctant to vote for the NPP simply because of the JVP's track record?
Yeah. Now historically there may have been things that which shouldn't have taken place, but I believe it's not only the JVP that should be responsible, also the rulers should be held responsible.
Right.
Now with the incidents that took place in the past during the Aragale period,
Yes.
now just because we had smartphones, just because we had lot of technological advancements, we were able to see lot of things and we were able to find the truth behind
exposed to the truth.
expose certain incidents. Now especially Newsfirst was giving so many lives for hours and hours, right? So people got to know the reality behind certain incidents. Likewise in the history, there may have been incidents which were purely based on our faults, and there may be incidents which was purely based on the state,
Which was
and
set up.
which was based on the system, but which was decorated or something like that. So I mean, it was a civil war in the country, and no civil war is clean. But actually what we have to see is why that situation took place. That is one thing. It was the system. Even if you see now we are anticipating an election. What if they don't give an election? What if the people get onto the street and if they try to behave violently? Now it's a similar situation that took place in the past also.
Right.
So we were banned without any reasons, and then our political rights were deprived, and then we had to work undercover, and then all of a sudden this Indo-Lanka agreement, the pact came up, and also the education white paper which was put to the parliament.
Yes.
So likewise, the country was in a turbulence, and at that time we started to work, and then they started to attack us. So things took place. I don't want to go very deep into it. It's a very broad topic, but there are things that should have been prevented from our side also, and we have rendered our apology many times.
Yes.
So that's a different story. But at this moment, we have exceeded that situation. There was a time people were reluctant to talk to us. There was a time people were reluctant to vote us, though they talked to us.
Even intellectuals.
And there was a time people were talking to us, they were willing to voting to us, but then they didn't have that situation. But at this moment, if you see, people are accepting our policies. They want to vote us. They are blending with us.
Okay.
And if you see the support that we are getting throughout, it's massive. Like even now we are done with almost all the conventions. Now what we are doing is we are reviving again and again and again. We are trying to renew the political campaign. Now earlier we had these district summits, and then that was over. Almost in all the districts in the country we had summits. Then we went to the electoral conventions. Even that is finished. Now what we are doing is we have this Triforces collective. So that one we are having almost in all the districts, and also now we are having this district based women conventions. So again if you take the crowd, it is increasing day by day. Now I would say in last Mathur and Gaul women's conventions, we had more women than the entire population that took part in our previous conventions in both those districts.
Right.
So people are joining hands with us. They want some kind of a change, and as we are working under the label of NPP, now it is not a part of JVP.
Right.
It's a mistake that you made here.
Yes,
It is a coalition where JVP is also part, and there are other pure, genuine, political oriented groups,
not
societies, not political parties, groups, societies, and teams like that are working with us.
Okay,
and we have
society groups and so on.
And so on. So we have come to a kind of an understanding that we are not going to join hands with any political party that took part in forming a government in this country and destroy this country.
Okay.
So based on that, but maybe we can filter and we can intake people, and that is depends upon the situation. Now, for example, people like Eric Veerawardena are working in Kandy. So he was a deputy minister, I believe, in the past.
Yes.
But then now he is working from the grassroots. We have not offered him anything. He is voluntarily. He is working with us. So like that, many people
done due diligence on those who have been in former governments that are planning to join you.
We will have to think about that.
You won't accept everyone with open arms.
Yes, they have to accept the NPP policy first.
Right.
NPP policy. It's not the. I have to be again clear on that.
Yes.
JVP policy and NPP policy has some kind of a differences.
Okay.
But
can you point out some key differences for me?
Now,
please?
okay. Now throughout the past, we had this. Now JVP was labeled as some kind of anti-privatization and things like that.
Towards the left.
Yeah. So we have to decode that word privatization here.
Right.
Now privatization is something what has been taught to us is we are against privating. Against private properties, and it's not like that. Now what we were talking all these days about the institutions that were deliberately made losses. Right. So selling those institutions and things like that, even NPP is against that. But that does not mean we are against any private education centers or private hospitals or anything like that. People have the right to go for those things. So NPP is more towards it's I would say like it's kind of a social democratic or kind of a popular left ideology still, but then again it's more kind of a open forum for like-minded people to come and work, and those who, they should have that real mindset to bring this country to a better point.
Right.
They have to be against corruption, they have to be in favor of national unity. So there are certain criteria, and I believe most of the citizens are in favor of that. There are few people those who are racist, there are few people those who are in favor of selling things, but if you take the population as a whole, people are in favor to build a better, beautiful country.
Yes.
So NPP is more open. Earlier we had this allegation that not everybody could be part of JVP, and you have to go through many things, process and things like that. So, but now we have, I would say, it's not the JVP is as JVP. It is functioning as JVP. But NPP is kind of a more open environment for people to come and work, and
without the rigorous processes.
And kind of. I would say it's more of a it's like this. We are progressive.
Right.
We are progressive. We are left leaning. We are left leaning.
Yes.
I had to be precise on that. But it's kind of a different environment.
It's not do all end all for you.
And we have got special separate branches now. Now, for example, now we have got the JVPs. Women wing also.
Yes.
But meantime, we have got this progressive women collective also working with us. So they are not JVP members.
Right.
So, but
they are civil society representatives.
It is for a common goal.
Right.
We are working together.
Right. So very quickly, unfortunately, we are coming towards the end of the show, Arun. In 2019, when President Gotabaya Rajapaksa came into power, Andukumara Dissanayake, who contested from the NPP, only garnered 3% of the vote. And at the general election, your parliamentary seats also went down to 3, and 5 years later, does the NPP seriously believe that it can upstage all of the political traditions that have been going on in Sri Lanka, and the trends that have been going on in Sri Lanka, to win a presidential election?
When Gotabaya Rajapaksa came into power in 2019, I believe some people were telling the SLPP rule will be in this country until 2015 at least, 50 at least. But what happened? So politics is not something, it's not basic whatever algebra or anything. It's not basic mathematics. It's kind of complicated, and we are in a situation that this country was undergoing series of protests, and an executive president has been chased away from his seat, and we are going to face a new setup.
Right.
We are going to face a new election ground, wherein the people are more, I would say, aware, and the people are more
intent on creating a change,
and they are kind of more,
invested,
common goal oriented.
Okay.
They are against corruption. They are against wasting the public
They don't turn a blind eye anymore.
Money. So the quality of the voters that we are having now compared to the past is completely changed.
I see.
So I believe it's a new ground, and only thing is what they could do is they can keep on postponing the elections. That is because we will be winning, and they could have had this local government election if SJB was winning, and apparently their intelligence reports and everything was not in favor of that. There are elections in this country, there were elections in this country which took place when the ruling party was still losing. But here it's a new setup, new environment, where a new system oriented party is going to come into power. So they were keep on postponing elections. They were using all those techniques that they could use. They were making use of all those loopholes that they could use, but still now we have a good opportunity. 2 elections are coming, and we are looking forward to those, and we hope that we will have a good opportunity in the future to make this country to a better position, to bring this country to better position in the world.
Right. Expect the unexpected is the short answer from my guest tonight, Arun Hemachandra, National Executive Committee member of the NPP. Thank you very much for joining me on the show, Arun.
Thanks a lot once again.
And that's the way it was on Face to Face for tonight. Thank you and good night.